Hey guys, everyone's day is going well. Today, we're gonna be taking a look at the Magpie version 2. This is a really awesome yo-yo. I love the version 1, and so I'm super excited to be talking about the brand new version 2. Let's jump right in. Okay, so as usual, I wanna give some quick shout outs to YoYoFriends for actually sending me this yo-yo and making this entire video possible. They messaged me and asked if I could do a review on this new yo-yo, and I said of course, and so they sent it right on over. So I wanna give them a huge thank you for doing that. All of their links and contact information will be in the description down below, so be sure to check that out at the end of this video. Okay, so in order to just kind of get a basic idea as to what this yo-yo is all about, I'm gonna throw the specs of this yo-yo on the screen right there, and then we're gonna talk a little bit more about the design of this yo-yo. Okay, so just taking a look at the Magpie 2, this is definitely obviously reminiscent of the original Magpie. However, there's a couple key differences that I want to point out. Now, in regards to specs, this yo-yo is just a little bit on the wider side than most standard yo-yos in this day and age. So you'll notice that the width coming in there at 47.51 millimeters, it's a little bit larger than most yo-yos in this day and age, something to kind of just point out and keep in mind. Additionally, a major change that I want to point out is that the finger spin hub is now flat. Before, on the original Magpie, there was kind of this little dimple right there you could do finger spins in, but now it's completely flat, so that's just something to note. I talked to YoYoFriends a little bit as to why this was a change, and they said that it is to shift the weight more towards the rims. So it keeps the kind of floaty feeling of the Magpie, but with a little bit more stability. Additionally, the width of this yo is 1 millimeter larger than the original Magpie, which is another thing to note. The gap itself is a little bit more on the narrow side than the previous Magpie, and so that's to kind of get some tighter binds. And then also the rim is rounded a little bit more, so it's not as sharp as the original Magpie when it hits your hand. So overall, they're just trying to increase the power and stability while keeping that kind of floaty, fun feel of the original Magpie. So just looking at the design of this yo, this is definitely a very angular and really extreme looking yo. So you can tell looking at the shape right there, it's got this really, nice rim right there and then a nice scoop down to some very low walls. You can see that this is definitely a flared out shape, definitely more competition oriented. I've always been a big fan of these wide scooped down shapes, and this is definitely a great one. Moving on over to the cup, we can see you got that chunky rim right there. It just leads down to that flat center as I mentioned before. On one side of the yo, there's that Magpie engraving, which looks really nice. But in general, this yo looks really kind of sleek and elegant. It's got this really nice green acid wash, which I'm a big fan of. And overall, I'm very impressed with the design. In general, this isn't too different from the original Magpie, but it's got some slight differences here and there that are gonna make this yo play just a little bit different. All right, so in regards to how the Magpie 2 actually plays on the string, this is definitely a very solid yo-yo. The original Magpie was a super stellar yo-yo. Everyone really loved it. It had a lot of stability, it was very floaty, and in general, it was just a really good yo-yo. And I think the Magpie 2 really is very similar to that original Magpie, but with those nice improvements that YoYoFriends mentioned earlier. So I've noticed a big thing is that when the yo comes back to your hand, it doesn't hit as hard and as sharp as the original Magpie. The original Magpie had some kind of sharper rims, and it did hurt a little bit when it came back to your hand, kind of dangerous. And so this Magpie version 2 has nice rounded rims, and it feels a whole lot better when you catch it in your hand. Additionally, this yo definitely has a ton of stability and a ton of rim weight. You can really tell it when you throw it down. However, this is still a very floaty yo-yo. That's something that YoYoFriends mentioned, but they still wanted to keep the floaty feeling of the Magpie, and it definitely has that. This is a very wide yo-yo, so when you're playing with it, it's gonna feel super wide and very catchable, which is nice for your whips and slacks and all those different tricks. As you can see here, I had absolutely no problem with some faster tricks. This is a floaty yo-yo, as I mentioned before, super easy to change direction with and very easy to kind of nail those harder combos with still having a lot of spin left. Regens and binds were also exceptional with this yo-yo, so as I mentioned before, they narrowed that gap just a little bit to get slightly tighter binds. I think it works perfectly. I found the response system to be exceptional. One thing to note is that when you're doing regens with this yo-yo and you throw it down, at that second time, it does have a good amount of vibe that comes with that. That's just because when this is such a wide yo-yo, it's kind of hard to get a solid regen throw out of it. It's just gonna have a little bit of vibe, as you can see here. This really isn't too big of a deal. It's just kind of a preference thing. It doesn't really hinder play too much, but this is something to note. With a wider yo-yo, you're not gonna get as kind of like solid feeling regens. It's gonna feel a little bit more wobbly. In regards to grinds, this yo excelled. It's got that really nice flared out shape and it's super smooth matte finish. So when you're doing your grinds, it's gonna spin for a really nice long time, and especially since it's got so much stability, finger grinds were exceptional. I found that kind of talon grinds were fine, but you can't really do thumb grinds with this yo just because of the fact that there's no lip to really catch on, so just note that. And then as for finger spins, these are very good. It doesn't have that same finger spin cup that they used before, and so as a result, you're just gonna kind of rotate rotate around the center of this yo-yo, but finger spins are still good. It's got a lot of stability and can spin for a nice long time on your finger as it rotates around. All right, so in general, the Magpie version 2.0 is definitely a solid step up from the original Magpie. They're very reminiscent yo-yos. They feel very similar, but I feel like Magpie 2 just has a couple little things that, you know, make it a little bit better than the original Magpie. This is definitely a floaty yo-yo, a stable one, and a fast playing yo-yo, and it's super wide. So keep those factors in mind when you're considering purchasing. Overall, I was really impressed with the design, and I'm super happy that YoYoFriends sent it on over. All right, so that's about it for my review of the Magpie version 2. If you guys did enjoy, be sure to leave a like. Also, if you guys are new here and haven't seen my videos before, hit that subscribe button so you can see whenever I post a new video. I hope you guys all have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Peace.